Good morning or afternoon or evening, whenever you're joining us. Welcome to BODHI Yoga Online. I'm Krista Cahill, and this morning I am joined by Chris, who will demonstrate a 90-minute vinyasa flow. So please come in wherever you're practicing onto your mat, and we're going to start lying down. If you happen to have a yoga block at home, just have it nearby. If you don't, you can just pretend that you have a yoga block. Okay, and just make yourself comfortable on the mat so you can lie in any shape that feels good to you this morning. Close the eyes if that's an option for you. Let your body relax into the earth. Invite your awareness to move into all those little areas of your body that you haven't yet been in touch with today. So maybe the extremities, or possibly the back of your body is a little bit lacking your awareness. Just check in. Find a way to breathe that creates both a stimulating energy and a calming energy at the same time. So the breath would be sattvic, not rajasic, not hyperactive, loud and aggressive, and not tamasic without pizzazz or with a little dullness, but we want to create a breath that is stimulating our nervous system without creating reactivity. So generally, the best way to breathe if you're not creating tension in your body is with a diaphragmatic breath, moving down into the sides and even into the back side, the kidney ribs. Creating both lateral and downward movement with the diaphragm. So with each inhale, you'll feel that movement. And on the exhalations, try not to control the breath, just let it go naturally, evenly. Observe your mind. Perhaps you have an intention you would like to connect with in this moment. Why are you showing up? What is the goal of practicing? Whom is it serving? Give yourself a few more moments to settle, ground your energy, and get clear. Keeping your breath smooth and without too much sound. So you want there to be just a very subtle sound in your breath. You can begin to elongate into a stretch. So from wherever you are, kick your legs forward, reach your arms overhead, feel the body moving in all directions. And now we're going to come into Tadasana on our backs. So you're going to roll the legs in and flex the feet into a dorsiflex. The heels are going to be reaching away from your hips, pulling slightly the toes back towards your chest. And this flexion of the foot will start to activate Pada Bandha. So even though we're not pressing into the earth, you can imagine the reactive energy of the legs and feet pressing one direction and the energy you receive from that. And now you're going to take your hands onto your belly and just relax the shoulders. Don't feel like you have to be working or pulling the shoulders in any direction for this moment. Feel that when you inhale, you have a sense of the spine opening and elongating from root to crown. And it's not the shoulders lifting to give you that length on the spine. And the shoulders can just relax on the earth here, and you can feel how the subtle movement of the spine goes towards the crown of your head from the sacrum. So this is just a natural thing that happens. It's your inner technology. Be aware of it. Okay, and now you're going to take, whether you have a block or not, a block between your hands, you can always just pretend, and your fingers are going to run along the sides of the block, so all the fingers together, and then you're going to lift the block up towards the ceiling. So it's kind of a version of plank position. It's just that gravity is now in a different relationship to your body. So instead of pressing your spine down towards the earth, or down towards the earth from above, it's pressing from the belly towards the earth, giving you a little bit more control over what your abdomen does. I want you to imagine the two shoulder blades, those two flat bones in your upper back, and imagine them assisting and moving around towards the sides of your body and actually letting the shoulder blades hold the block. The more the shoulder blades move away from the spine, the closer the block will grow towards the ceiling. And see if you can do that with your elbows straight. And then with your next inhale, you're just going to take the block about halfway towards a handstand position. Pause when you reach a 45-degree angle. Observe if you lost the feeling of the front lower rib cage magnetizing towards the hip bones. This is oftentimes where we get into a little bit of a problem in our handstands, is when the mobility, instead of coming from our shoulders, is only going to come from the lumbar spine overarching. At this 45 degrees angle, can you also upwardly rotate the shoulder blades around towards the sides of the ribs, assisting and pushing the arms overhead? If you feel like you're at your edge, stay at 45 degrees. Those of you who feel like you can lower the arms even parallel to the ears, you can go that direction. However, if you lose the rotation of the shoulder blades or the front ribs, back out and find your happy place. Last 3 breaths here. So you're descending towards the mat and elongating in 2 directions. Last breath in. Get as much space as you can through the spine. And then when you're ready, lift the block up and you can set the block off to the side. Good job. Hug your knees towards your chest. Give yourself a little squeeze. And you can rock a little bit on your spine, so this will help to awaken the tissues and to get some things circulating. And then when you're ready, you're going to come all the way up and sit. Okay. Chris, I'm going to have you turn and face the camera. Okay, we're going to do a little bit of a shoulder prep. So with the right arm extending out towards the right, you're going to flex the hand. And here's always a good place to look just to see how much movement you have in your wrist. So like Chris doesn't have exactly 90 degrees. He has a little less than 90 degrees. So we're going to keep that in mind when we go to the poses like plank and handstand and Urdhva Dhanurasana. Okay, so if you don't have 90 degrees in your wrist, you don't want to force that, but you do want to try to elongate all the fingers up towards the ceiling to the best of your ability. Now think of the spine and the right shoulder blade. Okay, and now when you exhale, you're going to push your shoulder blade away from the spine and get as much space and protraction as you can. And on the inhale, you're going to bring the shoulder blade towards the spine as if there were somebody's fingers there and you could hug your right shoulder blade against it. So as you exhale, you're going to push the hand and arm away with the shoulder blade. And as you inhale, you're going to draw the shoulder blade in towards the spine. 2 more times. Exhale, push away. Inhale, pull towards the center line. Exhale, push away. Inhale, pull it towards the midline. 1 more time, push away. Now, extend the fingers out towards the right, so your palm is now elongated. Rotate your arm, your shoulder externally, and just take your right arm up overhead. So you will feel that the shoulder blade does 2 things. It moves away from the spine and it rotates upwards, so it's assisting in pushing the arm from underneath. Use your back muscles to the best of your ability to help assist the lift of the spine and the shoulder blade. Take another big breath in, go a little higher, and then as you exhale, release your arm. And you can change the crisscross of your legs when you're ready. Hold your left arm out parallel to the ground and flex the hand. So be aware that sometimes our wrists are not going to be symmetrical. One wrist might have more flexion than the other. On an exhalation, you're going to push the shoulder blade and the arm away from the spine, creating space. And as you inhale, you're going to bring the shoulder blade, the arm in and squeeze. Good. As you exhale, push it away. Good job. Inhale, pull it in and get a tight contraction. As you exhale, you push it away. Inhale, you squeeze. Last time, push it away. Inhale, squeeze. And now we're going to push the shoulder blade away from the spine. Extend out through your fingers, rotate the shoulder so the palm is facing open, external rotation. And now imagine the shoulder blade making that sideways and upward rotation movement that assists and lifts the arm. So it's like you're doing a one-armed handstand already. Last 2 breaths. So even the muscles along the spine, the postural muscles can assist and push the arm up, up, up. And then release all the way down. Very good. Okay, you can extend your legs out for a moment, let your knees recirculate. And now we're going to come to the hands and knees. This is where you have to, when you're at home by yourself, you have to be as good as any amazing yoga teacher and look at your own body. So look at your wrists. If you don't have 90 degrees at your wrists, don't place your wrists 90 degrees under your shoulders. If you have 87 degrees in your wrist, place your wrists 3 degrees forward of your shoulders so you can open up that joint and give the joint and the nerves and all those little soft tissues the room so that they can stay spacious. Okay, we're going to do what I like to call wrist releves. So extend your fingers down on the mat. Press into your fingers and lift the heel of your hand up. As you exhale, you're very cautiously, slowly going to bring the heel of the hand down without slamming it onto the mat. Okay, and as you inhale, you're going to lift up. And as you exhale with control, you're going to bring the hand down. Again, inhale, lift up. So the wrists, the shoulders, everything lifts. And that stays lifted as you exhale and drop the hand down. The wrist stays lifted as the hand descends. Last one, come up as you inhale. And on this last one, I'm going to ask you to hover 1 millimeter above the mat with your hand. Draw the inner wrists, inner elbows, inner shoulders up a little more as the hand comes down. So you really feel that there's a full system of support here. Now keep that feeling of lift in the arms nice and tall, and as you exhale, you're going to round, starting at the sacrum, making a round shape in the lumbar, and then eventually gazing into your navel. And as you inhale, you're going to start with the head and come all the way into the arch shape. Maybe you have the ability to look up. As you exhale, you start the sacrum. You use that to help create a round shape. And as you inhale, the head comes up first and you move through the sequence of the spine. Last time, exhale, rounding. And inhale, creating a nice arched shape. And now we're going to come to a neutral spine. So you're going to have all these natural curves, your natural lumbar, your natural cervical concave curve. Okay, and now Chris is going to revisit this idea, okay, of pressing the hand but lifting the wrists, the inner elbows and forearms, as well as the inner shoulders. One leg is going to extend back to plank position. The 2 shoulder blades are well away from the ears. And then the other leg, when you're ready, if it's too much, you use your knees on the ground as a great modification. So plank is a mini handstand. Okay? It's handstand with 1/4 of the weight. So what I want you to do here is use this as a way to train your body. Drop all the fingers and stretch the fingers forward away from the knuckles, and then pull the palm of the hand back away from the fingers. Press the floor away, take another big inhale. If your knees are down, lift them up, And keep your arms like this as you go to down dog. So very slowly, you train the forearms to lift up and resist as you take the hips back. Okay, and since it's a morning practice for us, we're gonna be bending the knees a little bit in down dog and just straightening one leg at a time. This is going to give your body a moment to adjust. And take it, from side to side. Be curious. In this practice, we have to be explorers. And just like the wrists sometimes don't have full flexion, sometimes also our ankles don't. So don't force your heels to the ground. Oftentimes, many students getting their heels to the ground, it's because they're reversing the curve of their lumbar. It has nothing to do with them getting their legs more supple. So be okay with allowing the heels to be a little bit up off the ground. Okay, if they come down without force, they do, no stress. And see if you can just create a feeling of using your hands and shoulders to push the hips back. And from the hips going back, the spine, crown of the head is extending and energetically moving forward towards the hands. Take another big breath in and child's pose. As you exhale, knees down, toes point, arms in a relaxed position. Relax your shoulders. Relax your jaw. So when we do inversions like down dog or dolphin, handstand, Pincha Mayurasana, and headstand, this is the counter posture. Bringing your breath and your nervous system back to a very reasonable and balanced place. I think we're there now. So if you need extra moments in child's pose at home, take that. For us, we are going to continue stretching the arms forward, and we're going to start to set up again with downward facing dog. So look at your hands, place them according to your knowledge of your body. When the hands press down, the forearms happen to lift a little bit, so I should be able to slide my fingers beneath the wrists. Okay, and then keeping that and the hips back as far as you can, you're going to sneak the toes into a little tucked position. Okay, try to keep those forearms lifted up so they're not sagging down to the floor, and you're going to return downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Good. Now with your next inhale, imagine the hips going further back as you look forward. Keep moving the hips further back as you bend the knees as deep as you can. And just see how far this goes. Keep moving your hips back, and now just straighten your legs. This is really simple movements, okay? Anybody can do this at home. So move your hips back, look forward, bend the knees as deep as you can, keep moving the hips back, and then straighten your legs. Last time. Now we're gonna walk it forward. So he's gonna push the hips back, look forward, bend the knees, and then walk the feet to the hands. Elongate separated or feet together, your choice. Exhale, fold, full Uttanasana. Take a couple moments. This is technically an inversion. So if you have low or high blood pressure, don't stay for too long in these kinds of poses. You might need to stay 2-3 breaths and come up. We're going to stay a few more breaths longer. The spine is going to achieve a little more elongation the longer we stay. And now we're going to maintain this little soft bend in the knees and concentrate your mind on the roundness in the lumbar just above the pelvis. And one vertebra at a time, you're really going to create a rounded shape. Notice that between the shoulder blades, it rounds so easily, and that's so boring. But really, if you concentrate on rounding just above the sacrum, you will never be bored of these simple transitions. So take your time, coming all the way up. Of course, the head is the last vertebra to come up above your hips. And you're standing now in Tadasana. Organize your feet accordingly. I find many days I need to separate my feet hip distance. Other days, feet together. There's no judgment. You do what your body is asking for in the moment and be present with it. Spreading the toes as much as you can, releasing the inner and outer heels as much as possible. But at the same time, if you could imagine an energy from the outer ankle bone lifting to your outer hip and the inner ankle bone lifting to your upper inner thighs. So the feet, like the wrists, are separated from the legs. And you're creating a nice lift through the sides of the body. It's not really the shoulders lifting up here. Engage and elongate with your postural muscles. Okay, the shoulders will lift when we externally rotate the arms, so the palms are opening. And now you're going to lift your shoulders. You're moving them out towards the sides and all the way up the body as much as you can, pushing your arms over your head. If you have the availability, look up. And on an exhalation, open your arms wide and release all the way down towards the earth. Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway lift, engaging the postural muscles. And now you're going to bend your knees, both hands flat. Now keep in mind exactly what you did in tabletop with your wrists. Step one foot back, lift those inner shoulders a little extra, step both feet into plank position. So the upper inner arms are engaged and resisting out because the outer arms, forearms and triceps, are hugging in with a great force. Take a big inhale. See if you can do both inner and outer arms equally and downward facing dog without losing that. Inhale, lift your right leg up, stretch. Exhale, bring your right knee to the chest. The most rounded part is this sacrum area, so lift the sacrum a little higher, Chris, a little higher, and step your foot all the way between your hands, much better. Lower the back knee down, point the toes, and come up with your arms again. So now you're going to hook your thumbs together. You choose which thumb is on top. And here's where those upper inner arms get a little better at doing the work of creating space. So in this position, you can pull the thumbs away from each other without bending the elbows, and you're going to start to feel that the upper inner shoulder blades and even a little bit the chest starts to pull apart. Use that as you go up, up, up continuously. Last two. And now you can release the thumbs, turn the palms. Maybe you're close enough to touch your hands. And now exhale, fingertips to the ground, frame your front foot. Curl the left toes, step to the front of the mat on the inhalation. The lumbar all the way through the crown extends. And then exhale, flexion, Uttanasana. Open the arms, external rotation with the shoulder. And your shoulders are pushing the arms up. And you're going to fold directly down into Uttanasana, exhaling all the breath out. Inhale, lift halfway. Bend the knees until you can get your hands organized. Step the other foot back. Lift your inner shoulders. Both feet now are in plank. Organize your mental attention at being able to firm from the outsides of the arms in, and at the same time, pulling your inner shoulder blades apart. Last two. Keeping your arms exactly as they are, downward facing dog. So nothing here changes, you just stretch back. Inhale, lift your left leg up. Bring the knee to the chest as you exhale. So this rounding always is starting at the sacrum. I know you can round between the shoulder blades, guys at home. Lift here a little more and step to the front of the mat. Back knee down, point the toes, come up, inhale. Hook the other thumb. Okay, use this to gather information about your shoulders. So as we pull the thumbs apart, yeah, those firm upper inner arms, just like the arms of chaturanga. The biceps are pressing out, the triceps, outer shoulders, arms are squeezing in. Now you can lift a little higher and now turn the hands pressed together. Big inhale there. Exhale, the hands, fingertips are on the ground. Okay, curl the back toes, step to the front. Inhale, elongate your body. Exhale, head releases down. Open the arms, inhale all the way in one big line of energy. Fold directly again as you exhale, Uttanasana. Halfway lifting up, inhale. You're going to plant the hands flat, march back into plank position. Take one breath here, organize your arms, press the hands, floor away from your chest. Downward facing dog as you exhale. Inhale again. Keeping the hips moving back, look forward, come into plank position. Very good. Now, knees down or up, your choice. Lower completely down with control. The forearms lifting up, good job. And down onto the mat, super. Okay, now, if you have a block at home, you're going to place a block all the way out in front and your hands on either side of the block like we did when we were lying on our back. Okay, I'm not going to lie to you, this is not easy. So if you want to go without the block, I'm going to say do that for yourself. Okay, if you have something you can wedge your feet under, it might be interesting for you to put your feet under a couch. I'm going to give a little assist to Chris here with my foot on his. So Chris, when you're ready, forearms in, hold the block with your outer shoulder blades and triceps, and see if you can start to move the block forward and up off the ground. Eventually the head will lift. If you have neck problems, just keep your head on the floor and stay lower. Otherwise, if you can, use the postural muscles of your upper back and push the block away from your spine. Last two. See if you can lift a little higher. Roll to the pubic bone. Last breath in and release. Come all the way down. Super. You can just leave the block there. Bring your hands by your chest. Separate your feet a little bit if you had them wedged underneath something. And now come into Cobra. All the way into Upward Dog if you can. If not, stay with Cobra. You can always go to Child's Pose from here or Downward Facing Dog on the exhalation. Take a couple moments, breathe. So we learn these poses and they help us to understand other ways that our body reacts to having the arms overhead in different scenarios. Look forward, move the hips back as much as you can, bend your knees, and you're gonna walk or jump, if you're ready, the feet to your hands. Exhale, fold all the way, release. Open the arms, come up as you inhale, so you're taking a full breath in. Last time, dive directly down into Uttanasana, release your neck. Inhale, look up. Exhale, last time, hands flat, step back, top of a push-up plank pose. You're going to take one breath in here, feel your inner arms firm out, outer arms in, downward facing dog as you exhale. Good job with the forearms. Pulling the hips back, look forward, come back into plank position. That's it, keeping that up, good job. Lower all the way with control, shoulder blades away from the ears. Super. Okay, again, you're going to do the same thing, so reach for your block. If you have something you can put your foot underneath, like maybe a piece of furniture, do that. Okay, when you're ready, the shoulder blades move away from the spine and they rotate up towards the block over your head. The block moves away from you and eventually up off the ground. Good job. The postural muscles kick in. The sacrum releases back away from the lumbar. You roll to the pubic bone, you lift a little higher. Come on, Chris, go, go, go. That's it, way higher. And release all the way down. Good job. Bring your hands back by your chest. Come into Cobra. Maybe upward facing dog. And downward facing dog on the exhalation. So we won't hold for too many breaths. Just enough so you can stretch your hips magnificently back. Look forward, bend the knees, and you choose jump or step. As you inhale, find elongation. Exhale, release your head down. Open the arms, come all the way up for a big inhalation. Tadasana, exhale, Samastitihi. You can just let your arms relax down. Let your shoulders be at neutral. Close your eyes. Take a moment and be in the practice. Don't be in the future, but be here in your body right in this moment. Okay, you're letting all the toes drop and reach forward as far energetically away from your heels as possible. You're bringing your pelvis above the front of your heels. So this is the Pada Bandha, the talocalcaneus navicular joint. Now open your eyes. Rotate your shoulders all the way out and up overhead. And you're going to stay in this elongated state as you sit back and down for Utkatasana. Take another inhale, see if you can sit a little bit lower, and then chest and belly all the way onto the thighs as you exhale, release the head down, Uttanasana. Halfway lifting, inhale. Exhale, you're gonna step or jump back to chaturanga. If you don't have chaturanga, just do plank or down dog. Inhale, cobra or upward facing. Exhale, downward facing dog. So on the inhale, lift the right leg all the way up. Exhale, knee to chest, keeping your hips as high as your shoulders. Good. And step your foot between your hands. Much better. Very good improvement. Okay. We're coming up from here into crescent pose. So this is a balancing asana, believe it or not. Okay. And now what you're going to do is you're going to interlace your fingers and you're going to flip your palms open towards the ceiling. Super job. Okay. Now, this is not as easy as it looks. Okay. So what we're going to ask is that the front leg starts to straighten and you stay on your back toes. So this is going to cause the pelvic floor to have to lift and to give you a little bit more of that lift in the frontal pelvis and back kidney ribs. So as if you're pushing your shoulders and hands up, pushing the ceiling away, start to re-bend your front knee. But you're going up. Don't mistake, you're not going down. You're bending to 90 degrees, but the spine and the shoulders go up. Now release the fingers up, bring your hands together, big breath in, everything up, good job. And then exhale, release your hands down. Find a plank position as you inhale. Firm those upper inner arms. So there's a line from your shoulder to your inner elbow and downward facing dog, keeping that line of energy firm. Look forward as your hips move back, you're coming into plank position. You're going to exhale, lower, hover if you can, chaturanga. Some of you are going to go down for cobra up dog if you can from here. Exhale, downward facing dog. Let's take an extra breath in and down dog. Open your mouth and let it go. Okay. Left leg up, inhale. The knee all the way to the chest. The sacrum lifts and rounds. Very good. Place the foot between your hands. There's so much improvement happening here. Come all the way up. Okay, now you're gonna, if you can figure it out, interlace the weird fingers and turn. Good job. Okay, and now find your pelvic floor and begin to draw the legs up towards your spine until your legs are both straight. Yeah, pull the pelvis up like you're pulling on a tight pair of pants over wet thighs. That's it. Now keep all of that up and just bend the knee. So nothing goes down. It's gonna be a challenge for you to get to 90 degrees because of the effort going up is so magnificent. Turn your hands, releasing the lace of the fingers, press the palms. Last inhale, up, up, up. Exhale, release. You're going to inhale as you find a plank position. So the upper inner arms are going to feel very firm as you go to downward facing dog. Good job. That's it. So we're getting ready for handstand. Push the hips back. Look forward. Come into plank. Hover if you can. Chaturanga, exhalation. Cobra or up dog, inhale. Down dog, exhale. We won't rest in down dog for too long, so organize yourself here. Continue moving the pelvis back, look forward, bend your knees, and either jump or march your feet forward. Full elongation as you inhale. Exhale, release down. Chair pose, sit down as you reach. And stand all the way up. And release your arms down. Okay, now you're gonna separate your feet a little larger than your hips, and we're gonna do Padangusthasana. So place your hands on your hips, elbows parallel. Inhale, lift the sides of the body tall. Exhale, fold all the way. Hold your big toes, first two fingers around the big toe. The thumb closes it. Elongate as you inhale. Feel free to bend the knees as you exhale. Our abdominals are against the thigh. So there's no space between your abdominals and the quadriceps. The inside of your shoulders, however, they are lifting as the spine descends. So this is a really great place to practice the inversion shoulders of like headstand, for example, for sure. Keeping the shoulders up off the neck as the neck releases. Last breath in. Great job. Inhale, elongate halfway up. And now we're going to take care of the wrists. Padahastasana, sliding the toes all the way up. Take a nice long inhale, stretch it. And as you exhale again, abdominals to quadriceps. Breathing into your body, finding where the sticky points are, last two. The first vertebra between your ears lifts as you inhale. You're transferring your hands to the hips as you exhale, elbows in, and inhale all the way up. Once you're standing, you're going to turn and face the right edge of your mat with your feet about 70 centimeters apart from each other. Good. Okay, so take your arms now parallel to the earth. And remember, in your beginning practice, the shoulder blades pushing the arms out to the side. So you're going to flex both hands into stop signs. Okay? Now, with your hands flexed, you're moving the shoulder blades away from the spine. And for almost all of us, this pushes the head forward. Okay, so we want to be able to take that vertebra between the ears back in line with the shoulders. Good. Now extend through the fingers. Rotate your shoulders into external rotation until the palms are fully facing the ceiling. Very good. And the idea is the shoulders go out and they rotate up, pushing the arm from underneath. Good job. Okay, now you're going to keep all of that and you're going to turn your back left toes in towards your right foot until about 45 degrees. Now you're going to turn your whole right leg open towards the back of the mat. Without losing the stability of that left leg, so the left leg is straight, the knee does not buckle, you're imagining taking the left hip point around towards the right heel. Yeah, but without losing the back leg, so you have to keep, you're adding, not subtracting. The back ribs are floating up, 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 and when you're ready, you're going to bend the knee. This is Virabhadrasana, the warrior posture. If you're able to, press your hands together, feeling the biceps resist out against that last inhale. Straighten the front leg, lower your arms down, and turn your feet into a parallel position. So it's a debate whether or not the pose is harder because of the legs or the arms. Nobody can figure out why this pose is so difficult. Take your arms again, open to the sides. I personally think it's the shoulders. Opening the shoulder blades means that we have to be aware of the postural muscles drawing the head back in line with the shoulders. Like that, very good. Rotate from the shoulder now, the arms open into external rotation. Imagine the shoulder blades doing that little dance, moving out and from the sides, pushing the arms all the way up into a big, beautiful lift. Turn your right toes in at a 45-degree angle. Turn your left toes until your leg is pointing to the front of the mat. Okay. Put your mind in your back knee. So you're not going to let the back knee buckle or turn. And you're moving from the hip. So this is hip mobility. The right hip around towards the left foot. Good. Go up, 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 even as you begin to bend the knee. So you're tricking yourself into thinking, I'm going up, off of my back heel. I'm pushing down and I'm jumping up with my energy. Last breath. If you can, touch the hands, feel those biceps firming out. Hands down to the mat as you exhale. Inhale as you arrive in a plank position. Okay, feel your inner arms firming out and you're going to go to downward facing dog. So taking a moment, come back into your body. Feel what that did to you. And now continuing to feel the hips and the spine move in opposite directions, you're going to look forward and come into plank. Okay, lower all the way completely down to the earth. And we're going to do a little counter pose from that warrior one. So you're going to take your hands behind your back, interlace your fingers. Good job. Again, if you have a little piece of furniture you can wedge your foot under, do that. I'm going to just use the weight of my body on Chris's heels. And what you're going to start to do is to accentuate, again, the feeling of the pelvis grounding down, and eventually there's a little bit more weight on the pubic bone. And you're going to use the postural muscles starting with the vertebra between the ears, and you're going to begin to come up. Roll back onto your pubic bone as much as you can. That's it. Chin down just a little, right there. And reach through the crown of the head. That's it. Last two. Yeah, lift up a little higher, roll back onto your pubic bone, last breath in, very good job, and release your forehead. Let your arms rest for a second. So working the shoulders can be very exhausting, and one way that we can help our body to endure is by engaging the postural muscles which assist the shoulder. So it's not just about being strong in your shoulders. There's a lot of us who are just naturally strong in the shoulders, but can you cultivate postural strength, strength of the spine? This is different. This is what we're doing here. So we're going to do it, interlace your fingers the other way, the weird way. Okay, and then when you're ready, you let the shoulders do nothing. They're just relaxing and taking a moment. And what's happening here is you're engaging the postural muscles to begin to lift your body up. Rolling towards the pubic bone. Chin down just a little. There you go. And lift, lift. If you can keep your elbows straight, yeah, try not to use the shoulders too much. That's it. Just find space and lift. Last two. Good. Right there. Go a little higher if you can. And release all the way down. Super. Okay. Coming when you're ready into child's pose, because this really needs a little counter posture after it. So even though we do Warrior One all the time in class, you know, we really don't, I think, always understand the magnitude of how difficult this posture is. Take a little break and digest. If you need a continuous break, pause the video and stay here. Okay, otherwise we're going to continue stretching the arms forward, getting ready for downward facing dog. When you're ready, keeping the hips as far back as you can, sneak your toes into a tuck position. Keep your forearms elevated, your wrists lifted, and downward facing dog. Okay, moving the hips back a little bit more, you're looking forward, and then walk or jump your feet to your hands. Create some length in your spine. On the exhale, fold all the way down. You're going to sit back into your legs for chair pose, and we're going to hold this 5 breaths. So again, just like Warrior One, it's difficult to know whether it's the shoulders or the hips that's hardest in this posture. Okay, feel the shoulder blades moving out and up, pushing the arms from underneath. Last 2. If you can, look up, touch your hands. Last breath in. And now you're going to bring your hands to the ground and go directly to down dog or chaturanga, jumping straight back or stepping straight back. Inhale, Urdhva Mukha or cobra. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Good. Take your right leg up as you inhale. We're coming back into crescent pose. So bring your knee to your chest, place the foot all the way between your hands. And then when you're ready, bring your arms up and try to find a balance. Good. So now, we're going to keep the arms as they are, or if it's too much, bring your hands to your heart in a prayer. Okay, now on an exhalation, you're going to lie down, bringing your torso above your right leg. Okay, and when you're ready, keep the front knee bent, but lift the back leg up off the ground. Yes. Try to keep the front knee bent and the knee not moving towards the big toe, so staying in line with the center of the foot. Last 3. Very good. 2. And now bring your hands to the ground, and you can lift your left leg a little bit if you want to on an inhale. And now bring your left foot to match your right foot as you exhale. Very, very good. Create a nice little length. Inhale, and again, fold last time on the exhale. Chair pose. Sit back and all the way down as you inhale. And this time you're going to stand up, reach for the ceiling. And as you exhale, hands release down. Inhale, sit into chair pose, reach your arms up. Now, you're going to go directly to chaturanga or step to down dog as you exhale, hands down, jump back. Inhale, cobra or upward dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your left leg up, bringing the knee to the chest. Step into a crescent balance when you're ready. Okay, feel free to do a modification with the hands at the heart. On an exhalation, you're going to lower your torso down. Now, do your best. Keep the left knee as bent as possible and lift the back leg. So it's much harder with a bent knee. I think straight leg version is really too easy. And last 3, try to point the knee directly in the center of your foot so it's not pointing over at your big toe. 2, very good, hands down. Try to, even if your left knee stays bent, try to lift the right leg higher, so that will help you eventually with your handstands. And then step the foot forward as you exhale. Okay. Inhale, elongate to the full, and then exhale, release. Arms all the way up over your head, take a big stretch. Tadasana, exhale, Samastitihi. Last time. Inhale, arms up, chair pose. Exhale, hands down, go directly chaturanga or downward dog. Inhale, cobra or urdhva mukha. Exhale, adho mukha. Okay, now you're gonna step the right foot between your hands and lower your back knee down onto the ground. Okay. Point your toes. We're gonna do Ardha Hanumanasana. One of the hardest parts about freaking inversions is if your hips and hamstrings are tight, it's gonna be much harder for you. So you have to prepare your hamstrings for these poses. So now you're gonna move your hips back, flex your right foot, and straighten your leg. Yeah. Okay. And what I want you to try to be able to do is restrain yourself from doing, will you show, yeah, the head to knee. This is not gonna do anything for you. You would be better off sitting on the couch, okay? So what you're trying to do here is to create a movement forward with your abdomen. So the abdomen will be flush to the quadricep. Whether your head ever touches your leg or even gets close is so insignificant and so not important. Don't focus on that. Focus on bringing the sides of your lower body, your waist forward, and eventually you will get some amount of flexibility that allows you to bring your belly to your thigh. Last two. Okay, and then come back to straight arms. You can slide the heel towards you a little bit, bend the knee. Okay, and we can ditch the blocks here. So you can set the blocks off to the side if you were using it. Curl your back toes, lift your back knee. Okay, and now you're planting your left hand flat. And the most important thing is that you remember that the bottom left arm is doing a handstand. So the shoulder blade has to push away from the left side of the spine, and you're going to turn your chest as that happens and eventually take the right arm up. So the bottom hand is going down and the forearm, wrist, shoulder has to lift up. At the same time as you do that, push the shoulder blade away from the spine and give your spine space. Remember that the more space between the shoulder blades, the more the head likes to push forward. So engage the postural muscles, very good. Bring the ears in line with the shoulders. Last inhale, go up, up, up. As you exhale, release your hand down. Okay, so you're gonna come into a plank position. Okay, now lift your right foot 1 centimeter off the ground and go to three-legged down dog. Okay, so this is a great way to observe the flexibility in your hamstrings. Yeah, how much can you lift your right leg up? Yeah, last two. And release, feet to the floor. Come into plank position as you inhale. Chaturanga as you exhale. Up dog or cobra as you inhale. And downward facing dog as you exhale. Very good. Take an inhale and step your left foot forward as you exhale. Okay, lower your back knee down. And you're going to use blocks. Ardha Hanumanasana, half Hanuman. Prepping up that hamstring for the inversions. So we're not debiting space from the lumbar just to get the head to the knee. In these poses, we want to be adding and not subtracting space. That is almost like a mantra you could live your practice by. There is going to be less achievement in your mind because your head is not touching your leg. Don't worry about it. Keep feeling that elongation. It's going to serve you in the end. Last two breaths. Now coming up with your body, heel in a little bit, bend your knee. Okay, and you can ditch the blocks if you're using blocks. Place your right hand underneath your right shoulder. Okay, and curl your back toes under, lift your back knee up, and then when you're ready, open up and picture what you can't see behind you, okay? So the shoulder blade here needs to move away from the ear and away from the spine, both, dually. The top shoulder blade also away from the ear and away from the spine. So this is gonna force your head to come to the front side of your body. Resist that. You engage the postural muscles, move the ears back in line with the shoulders, and keep the space between the shoulders wide. Last breath in, and on the exhale, release. You're going to inhale as you arrive in a plank position. Lift your left foot just a centimeter, and then downward facing dog, three-legged dog. Lift as much as you can the leg up. Just see what happens. I don't care if you open the hip. You can do, yeah, just lift, stretch it up. And then foot to earth. Come into plank position. Lower all the way as you exhale. And point your toes when you arrive. Okay, so you're going to come now into Sphinx pose. As we visited at the very beginning of the practice, you know, when you take your arms overhead for a handstand, the front rib cage can be a scapegoat, and the mobility there can be quite tricky for some of us. If your shoulders are blocked, especially, that's you guys I'm talking to. So bring your elbows a little more forward, Chris. Like, yeah, a couple centimeters, there you go. The forearms are going to do two things. They're going to press down, and you're slightly pulling back against the sticky surface. What we want from that is to feel that the bottom front rib cage is being magnetized towards the frontal hip bones and vice versa. The hip bones magnetized to your front ribs. Now notice how all of that containment pushes your head forward. So just like the Sphinx in the desert, use these postural muscles to bring the ears back, at least in line with the shoulders, maybe a little further. And you're gonna feel, it's not because you're pinching the shoulder blades, it's not about the shoulders, this is about the spine, engaging and pushing energy up. Last two, so you get to do both here. And now we're gonna come from here. You're continuing to push the shoulders away from the spine. You're gonna curl the toes under. I invite you to use the knees if you need less and come into forearms plank. Good. So the two shoulder blades are pushing away from the spine. That's what pushes the elbows into the ground. But then there's an upward lift from the inner elbow to the inner shoulder. How much can you lift your inner shoulders, ears, towards the ceiling? Last three. Two. Now look towards your feet. Tiptoe your feet towards your hands. I invite you to bend your knees. Almost everyone is served by a little bend in the knees. Press your inner elbows, wrists down. See how much you can lift your inside shoulders. Last breath here. And resting again. After these inversions, knees down, toes point, shoulders relax, child's pose. It's a very classical way to do yoga, right? You create a stimulus, a sun energy, a ha energy, and then immediately it's followed by a thaw energy, a moon energy, a balanced energy, a balanced breath. So we're not just overstimulating our nervous systems, creating stressed and reactive inner beings. We are taking care of the inner being. We're taking care of ourselves based upon the science of yoga. Okay, now, Chris, what I'm going to have you do from here is come into Uttanasana. So go ahead and come onto your feet. You're going to move back a little bit. Okay, so when you're placing your hands down on the ground for a pose like handstand, take into account whether or not you have 90 degrees in your wrists. So if you don't have 90 degrees, you have to place your hands a little in front of your shoulders. Okay, so the shoulders never go beyond the wrists, even if you have 90 degrees. Okay, some people might have 92 degrees. You still don't go beyond the wrists. We're not hypermobile in the wrists on purpose, okay? So when you place your hands on the ground, place your hands in a way that suits your body, okay? Now, the wrists are lifting and the hands are descending. So in your mind, you have to put the hands down, but lift the wrists up. Lift the inner elbows and lift your upper inner arms, making them firm to the bone. Okay, then that lift is going to translate into your head being able to lift. Your ears as high as your shoulders. So those are postural muscles. So as the shoulder blades widen, of course the head wants to go forward. But we resist and use the postural muscles. Okay, now take one leg back. Doesn't matter which one, just practice. So can you feel the leg going up as much as possible. Last 2 breaths here. This is just a preparation. Don't feel like you're gonna need to go into handstand right now. Okay, and then switch legs. You will have a favorite leg, no doubt about it. One leg is gonna go up way easier, way better, way higher. Last breath in. And release, very good. We're gonna drop down into a little malasana just for a little counter stretch. Take a couple breaths, and whatever squat you want, you can do all the different fun hand variations you desire. So I will actually be the wall for Chris, and if you're at home and you desire to do a few kicks into handstand, I would say take this time right now and move your mat over to a big wall where there's nothing that you can kick through, like a window or something. Be safe. Okay, and now we're gonna do a few kicks into handstand. Okay, the goal is not to balance. The goal is to keep all the framework of what we did before with the hands, wrists, and shoulders. And if you so happen to get into a handstand, great, but really it's not the point. Okay, so what you're gonna do is come back into that same preparatory Uttanasana position. Okay. Place your hands in a way that is super mindful and informed about your body and the restrictions that you might have physically. Those restrictions are skeleton and they're not going to change, so you have to adapt. Okay, the shoulders are doing 2 things. They're going away from the spine and they're not crowding the ears. Okay, so you're keeping the shoulders in this moment down away from the ears. Okay, when we go up into a handstand, that will be a little different. Okay, you're lifting your head, one leg. Good. Okay, and now you're going to, when you're ready, bend the standing knee and give it a little downward push with your hands. So as your foot comes up, your hands have to push down into the earth. Good, and then just come back down. So just try a few little hops. So without bending the elbows, I want this to be very much about precision, not just about throwing your body up against the wall into a handstand. So push the ground away, which means a straight elbow as you go up. Little mini hop. Straight elbow, Chris. Straight, yeah. Don't let those elbows bend. 2 more. Straight elbow. Keep that, otherwise we're gonna use a belt. Squeeze. And change legs, guys. So I know you have one leg that you really prefer. Straight arms. Push the ground away and jump up. Better, that's it. You do that now, okay? Straight arms, now that I know you can do it. That's it, good job, much better. This will improve, I promise. Good job, one more time like that. I wanna see those arms straight. I don't care about handstand, it's not important to me. I care about the framework. Good job, and now we're gonna rest in child's pose because for almost all of us, that's a lot of time upside down. So child's pose is time where you can observe and reset. To do lots and lots of inversions with no counter postures, you're moving in one direction, and that's not yoga. You can call it whatever you want, calisthenics or gymnastics. But if you're not moving in 2 directions, it's not hatha. It's not the sun and the moon, it's just sun energy. Okay, and then when you're ready, you're going to come up. So the reason why really we did handstand today wasn't because I wanted to do inversions as much as I wanted to work on Urdhva Dhanurasana. And honestly, the best preparation for Urdhva Dhanurasana is handstand. So we're gonna make our way onto our backs. If you're at the wall somewhere in your house, just stay at the wall, that's cool. Okay, so we're gonna start actually with a supported bridge pose. And the reason why I like this is because it's a great way to open up the hips, which for most people is the reason why they dislike the back bend so much. Any tightness in the front of the hips is restricting the movement and it just feels too stuck. It's not as enjoyable. Another thing that you can do to prepare yourself If you have an extra block or a belt or something like that, like we can use a belt here. I have it kind of rolled up in between the knees. So it's interesting, if you put the belt or the block when you do back bends higher, you can actually compress your sacrum. I learned that from Donna Holloman. She's an amazing teacher. And all you have to do is try it for yourself. But if you squeeze lower down towards the knees, you actually won't have that undesirable effect of the sacrum being compressed. And what you're going to do instead is you're going to teach the outsides of your legs how to hold from the outside in. So the inner legs are always creating space. The outer legs are really what's holding the block or the belt between your knees. And if you have something between your knees, you're going to release it. And now we're going to do active bridge pose. So lift up, remove the block if you're using it. Okay, so organize your feet. So here's a rule of thumb. If it hurts your knees to touch your fingers to your heels, just move them a little away until you no longer feel that pain, because we're not here to hurt ourselves or be destructive. So when you're ready, get the feet as close as you can. Eventually you want to be able to touch your heels. Okay, and now lift your hips up into bridge pose. Good job. Okay, you can take any variation. We're going to cross the fingers today. We already did that a few times in different back bends. And again, this work is difficult because gravity is pressing down from above. So you're having to lift up against gravity. This is going to cause your legs to work like crazy. And it's exactly what we need in Urdhva Dhanurasana is we need the legs to push the hips up a crazy amount, so that eventually the hips come over the feet and we can stand. Take another big breath in with those hips up, and then release your hands and release your hips. Take a breath. Okay, like we did on Saturday and on Tuesday, we're going to actually supplement 2 blocks under the feet. It's not mandatory, so if you don't have blocks, don't stress out. Okay, we're going to try bridge pose like this. It's going to just, enhance this feeling of getting the hips over the feet. And then take your hands cross the other way if you're doing that. Okay, and your 2 feet, the 4 corners, pressing down, and the hips just jumping like crazy. It's like if you're on a trampoline, the force that you push down is equal to how high you go. So when the trampoline allows for that descending beyond the rim, it then shoots you up higher than you go. So this is what you're trying to think is I'm pushing down, but I'm jumping my hips up, up, up. Last breath in. And then exhale, release all the way down. Okay, if you have the kind of wrist that doesn't go to 90 degrees, one of the best ways that you can supplement in Urdhva Dhanurasana is move yourself to the wall and take the block and put it up against, I'll show on this side so they can see. Take the block up, and it's going to be at an angle. So if the wall was behind Chris, he could put his hand on the block, just that right hand, and you could see his hand is at an angle, whereas when he puts it on the ground, he has to work a lot harder because the wrist doesn't have that range of motion. And also, we don't want to be so forceful with the small joints and tissues in the wrists. Okay, so if you don't have blocks in the wall, don't freak out, Doing this occasionally is not going to be the worst thing. But you do want to try to put more weight in your legs regardless, whether you have, very easy wrists or complicated wrists. So you're going to rotate the arms like we did before, up and overhead. This time you're going to bend the elbows, and you're placing the hands onto the blocks or onto the floor. Now, almost everybody usually needs to turn their hands out a little bit. It's very rare that your shoulders are so easy and they just allow your fingers to point towards your shoulders. Lift your hips into bridge pose when you're ready as high as you can. And feel it's actually the hips lifting you that pull you to the crown of the head. Some of you might need to stay here and adjust your hands and keep your elbows in parallel. Okay, or you can also use a belt. Okay, and then by pressing your hips up, you can start to come up into Urdhva Dhanurasana. Okay, and of course, it's a postural posture, right? This is all back muscles. The shoulders are just extending in an upward rotation. Last 2. And chin to chest and release all the way down. So the good news is by doing a few preps for handstand, you're really leading into this much more difficult realm of doing back extensions and flexion in the shoulders simultaneously. Eventually that could lead into poses like scorpion, not to get ahead of ourselves. Take the arms overhead, take all the time you need to get into those more advanced poses. Bend your elbows, place your hands. When you're ready, your hips are going to be the peak of the pose, so the highest portion of the asana. And this lift in the hips is what pulls you to the crown head. Take a moment, adjust on your blocks if you're using it. And then when you're ready, lift your hips maximum and come up. Yeah, wow, good. The hips have to lift like crazy. And then you're working the muscles along the vertebra. Last 2. And chin, chest, and release all the way down. Take a moment, breathe. We're going to do one more. Usually it's getting easier the longer you stay in this trajectory. The body's getting more used to this. Okay, last time without so much delay. Rotate your hands. Give those hips as much lift as you can. Come to the crown head when you're ready. Hips up, up, up like crazy, and when you're ready, you're gonna float. Good job, and breathe. So the shoulder blades are moving away from the spine. They're pushing the arms away from the spine. Last 2, give that spine all that. Yeah, there you go. Hips up a little higher. Yes. And release. When you're ready, take a moment. You can ditch the blocks under your feet or hands. Walk your feet out to the sides and let your knees knock in. Yeah, like that. This is a good intermediary because it helps to release the sacrum, which sometimes can be a little tricky. Observe your breathing. This is where the fast-paced, harsh breath is not going to be advantageous. Slow it down. Take less quantity of breath and just do it a little bit slower. And then when you're ready, you're going to bring your knees towards your chest. So we do need to do some counter postures for this now. And when you do back bends, the counter posture is abdominals, unfortunately. Hug your knees. Okay. And now you're going to bring your hands and hold the sides of your feet with your fingertips. And the knees are going to start to move away from your chest. You're pushing your feet into your hands. And yeah, you're going to get a little bit of a lift from the shoulders. And the back is going to be like Bakasana, so you're round shape in the lumbar. Okay. Now see if you can maintain this and just float your fingers forward. And now push your knees forward until you feel like it's more difficult to keep that round shape in your low back. There you go. The more the knees go forward, the more difficult it's going to be to maintain that. Last 3. Last 2. Hold the back of your legs behind your knees. Lower your head down. Take an inhale. And as you exhale, you're going to rock up into Navasana. Good. Bent knees is a fine variation of Navasana. No worries about that. If you can, straighten your legs, straighten your legs. Okay, last 3, 2, 1. Bend the knees, cross the ankles. You can use 2 blocks or just place your hands in line with your hips. Okay, the elbows, when they're bent, they need to look like chaturanga. So you keep the elbows in as you straighten your arms. You're going to come up with your hips as high as you can. And then if possible, you're going to bring your knees to your chest and touch your knees to your chest for 3, 2. This undoes the back bending and release, hips down. Okay, Navasana last time. So when we do some counter postures like this, it helps the body to recover faster. Good. Last 3, 2. Cross the other ankle, hands on blocks or floor, elbows parallel, close to the side body. Lift up your hips, Lift your knees to your chest. Breathe here for 3, 2, sit down, and you can take your legs straight out in front. So in a system like Ashtanga, you know, because you're doing a backward somersault chakrasana and you're going through the vinyasa, that would like sort of constitute for the abdominal holding, engaging. So we skipped that and we did this instead. And now we're going to go to Paschimottanasana. Okay. So I like to take the arms up. It just gives a little more space in the spine. Bend the knees if you need to. And as you exhale, you're going to reach forward with your abdomen and your spine and your hands. Okay, use a strap around your feet if you need it. And you're going to come a little bit up with your inhale, and then you're going to try to bring your abdomen compressing to your thighs. So this is a process, don't force. Good, now you might be ready to do this variation. Yeah, there you go. B position. One more breath. Lift the vertebra between your ears first and come all the way up when you're ready. Okay, let's turn and face the camera, open the leg into a straddle. Okay, so for some of us, it's better to keep the hands behind. You can also lie on the floor and put your legs on a wall in a straddle too if it's very difficult. Okay, I really like this version where we take blocks and you put them in front of your pelvis for those of you who are going to fold forward. You could use anything. You could use a pillow from your couch. But what we're going to do when you're ready is you stay upright or take the hands in front, and you're going to think again. Your abdomen, it has to go up and over the blocks to go forward parallel to the ground. So like my teacher Mati always used to say, like imagine a rubber ball underneath you, and you have to energetically lift the tissues up in the shape of the ball and get it over the ball. And this gives you what you need to stay healthy in your spine. So it's very important that you just don't plop over. And the feet, you want to feel the heels as if you're pushing another person's foot away from you. So if you had a foot your same size pressing into your feet, and equally you're pushing those feet away. Good job. Last 2 breaths here. And then you're going to walk your hands in and come up. We're going to remove the blocks. Okay, we're going to take one leg into Janu Shirshasana for Parivrita Janu Shirshasana. Okay, so the heel is relatively centered in line with your pubic bone. Okay, now, whatever leg is straight, you're going to reach over with your first 2 fingers and hold that big toe like we did in Padangushtasana. Okay, take your opposite arm out to the side, external rotation, and as you inhale, you stretch sideways. When you bend your left elbow, you're aiming to the inside of the leg. Yeah, the inner knee or inner shin. You're going to use the arm inside the leg to leverage a feeling of turning your navel towards the ceiling, turning your sternum eventually towards the sternum, towards the ceiling. There you go. You're really now remembering the feeling of the inner arm, shoulder, the firmness of that resisting out as the outer arm and shoulder hug in. Last 2. Let the right arm inhale, pull you up. And when you're ready, you're going to change legs, crossing the opposite heel in front of your pubic bone. Holding the opposite big toe, first 2 fingers, thumb. Okay, take your free arm out, external rotation, and now lift and reach the arm above your head. So the arm above your head is doing headstand. Okay. If you're bending the elbow of the hand holding the foot, you're bending it towards the inner leg, not towards the outside of the leg. Okay, and then you're going to learn to turn your navel. This is very similar to triangle pose. Turn your navel towards the ceiling. Those bottom obliques are quite frisky and engaged. Yeah. And then feel, no matter how much the arm goes down, the inside of your shoulder arm resists a little bit at least. Last 3. Good job. 2. Let the left arm pull you up as you inhale. Okay, and now you're going to turn and face back to the front of your yoga space. Okay. So lie down on your back when you're ready. We're going to take just a very gentle version of a hip opening. So you're going to bend both knees just like you do in bridge pose. Cross one ankle over the opposite thigh. Reach between your legs and hold the thigh or knee. And as a general rule, you're using your internal hip muscles to press the knee away from the shoulder. So the knee is not coming up towards the shoulder at all. The more the knee goes away from the shoulder, the more rotation the hip will start to be used to, and that mobility and that rotation in your hip can translate into lotus and other more advanced variations. But if you can't do it here in the most simplest form, then this is where you need to be and stay and practice. And then when you're ready, release your left foot, release your right foot, cross the other way, and then when you're ready, hold the back of your leg. So as the knee learns to move away from the shoulder, you're teaching the hip so many different things. You're teaching warrior 2, triangle pose, tree pose, Ardha Chandrasana, Parshvakonasana, lotus, Ardha Baddha Padma. You're teaching your hip how to do so many asanas in this very simple form. Very gentle for the body. And then when you're ready, release. And we're going to do last pose is Supta Baddha Konasana. So you can just bring your feet together, knees apart. If you don't have blocks at home, you can use pillows or anything at all underneath your knees. The blocks just give your inner groins the permission to completely relax all the tension, so we don't have to hold ourselves in place. Have your hands wherever is comfortable. Some people love the belly. A version hand on heart, hand on belly is great as well. You can also reach your arms overhead. Some of people call that the goddess posture, to reach overhead and hold a wrist. When you start to descend into Shavasana, it is a process. You don't just completely relax the first moment you hit the mat. Start on the outermost gross layer, the bones, the Annamaya kosha, the tissues, the food body. And create a scenario where that body can relax and be in a state of supportedness. The earth has more than enough stability to support your body. Just let it go. The second energetic layer you can control by your breathing. So at this point, you can start to let the breath become more involuntary and natural. You don't have to do as much control or force to breathe in a certain way. Let the body do what it needs to do, what it knows how to do in this relaxed state. And then, of course, there's the frontal lobe, which it could be the most challenging, to relax the wrinkles in the front of your brain, to relax the muscles deep inside, and to let all your critical thoughts, judgments, analysis go. Relax the mind, Manomaya Kosha. As the tension of the brain in the front starts to relax, you might start to become more aware of the subtle brain, the Vijnanamaya. This is where all of our deeply held beliefs are, and if there's any belief that you're ready to let go of, which you know is just not serving you to reach even a higher state of consciousness, now would be a great time to let go of any beliefs that you know are holding you or limiting you. And then, of course, the deepest state of relaxation is when you are able to touch the Anandamaya, the bliss kosha. So this is the part that is on the soul level, soul experience of yoga. Beyond the physical, mental, and energetic yoga, there is a spirit, an inner being that is very much alive and worthy of kindness and compassion. Let this body be free to express itself. Layer by layer, you move into a deeper space. And now we're going to head into Shavasana. You're very welcome to stay with the position that you have, or you can take your legs straight. Take your arms out to the side. So you have to be in a state of receiving in Shavasana. You've given everything you needed to give. Open yourself like a sponge and soak in all this positive energy that the practice generates. And let go. Coming back with a gentle breath. And if you're still in the posture, you can just slide your legs straight for a few moments. So when we do long holds, even in the gentle poses, it deeply affects the body. Take a moment and observe. Now you're going to bend your knees and place your feet flat on the ground. Take your arms into a gentle stretch overhead if possible. And now bring your knees in and give your knees a little squeeze. You can roll over to either side and take a breath there. As the transition, stay as long as you want on your side. Whenever you feel ready, there's no rush, but you can press your top hand into the floor and use that to help you come up. We can sit comfortably, closing the eyes and bringing the hands into Anjali Mudra. Practicing yoga is a privilege. Thank yourself for attracting and for manifesting such an amazing practice in your life, something you have just for you. Bowing your forehead to yourself in honor of your efforts. And lifting your head, open eyes, and namaste.